friends, it's Beth from Aging Care Solutions, offering experienced guidance, professional experience, as well as a whole lot of life lessons. And I want to say Happy New Year. I haven't made a video in a really long time. I just posted one, but it was from a number of months ago. And as some of you may know, I have really changed my life in the last 6 months. I have moved and I have started. I'm entering semi retirement, let's put it that way. And I decided to continue with Aging Care Solutions as an aging care coach because a lot of my friends, my family, is still sort of in the thick of all of this, being the advocate, being the support system for their loved ones. And I want to be here as a resource for my viewers. So, welcome back. I hope that you're doing well. If you come into this, you'll see that my content really kind of spans a lot of different things. Mostly things that I've either professionally dealt with, working with families in private duty nursing, home health, and hospice. So I do understand that every family situation is different. And I do understand that it can be a very emotional time for families when they're dealing with their parents or their spouse or a loved one, and they're really trying to find good resources. What is out there for us? I have a situation going on right now with a family member. It's my ex-husband's dad. And, it really reminds me that there's a lot of people out there that don't have an advocate helping them. They don't have somebody that's actually sitting down at a care plan meeting asking a lot of pointed questions. So it is important for us to be as well informed as we can be, not only for our loved ones, but in the not too distant future, we will be that next generation of people who will be talking about where am I going to live? What resources do I have? What should I choose in the way of insurances? Am I going to be living in a place that's very remote, or am I going to have access to good health care? There's so many different things that I've started looking at as I approach this part of my life too. And I just really started thinking about downsizing and what that looks like during this phase of my life, which is coming out of corporate America and deciding, to really downsize. And I did one video, I think, about that some time ago. But this one really talks to what this has meant to me, which is there's a lot of memories where I was living. In fact, I was in the same area for almost 30 years. 20 of that was raising my kids who have now gone off to college. And, I've been through a lot of different phases and stages of my life, but my identity was really tied to that area. My identity was really tied to the community and the area that I lived in, which was in and around the Maryland, Virginia area outside Washington, D.C. And, making life transitions, it's different. Like, nobody really prepared me for leaving the workforce and kind of bringing and becoming and changing my identity of who I was. I was always, I was always working for someone or had a quota to meet. Plus, I was a full-time mom and caring for a family. And at one point, not too long ago, just 5-6 short years ago, I was also the advocate for my parent who was not well for many, many years, had dementia, and needed someone to really stay plugged in with that. And I was definitely the person for the job. But downsizing can happen at the same time as you're leaving your corporate life, or you're making these life changes. And it has for me, and making emotions more intense, and going through all of the items in the 4-bedroom home. I went from a 6-bedroom home when I was married, and then for almost a decade I lived in a 4-bedroom home. So downsizing, I basically felt like that home was the place that I healed and that I had built other family memories. So I don't know. I knew that it was going to packing up my life and starting a new chapter of my life, which may be exactly where you are. You may be in a similar or in the not too distant future, considering where am I going to live? Can I live less expensively? Which for me, that was kind of a goal that I had because I'm in a state of mind now where living simpler is not going to be a problem for me. If I had kids in the house, I would be living in a very different place right now. But I wanted to be closer to my daughter, who is a freshman in college, and which meant that I was going to be closer to family as well. And I thought, you know what? I think that if I'm gonna really make this work, I want to make it a place that is sustainable for me financially, one that offers a lot of outdoor accessibility year round, gives me the freedom of being out more in nature and really enjoying a lot of what it offers. And so that's why I chose the place that I did. So for you, you may, a lot of people, a lot of people, if their kids have started their family and they're having babies, they're going to relocate towards them so that they can kind of be in that phase of helping and seeing their grandkids. I'm not even there yet. I had children really late, so but I did feel a sense of overwhelm for a while there, and for the last 6 months of the last year of 2025 was really go time for me. It was really about packing up and getting out and getting rid of a lot of stuff. And now that I've landed where I've landed, I sort of wish I had saved a lot of other things. But, you know, reframing what downsizing really is going to mean to you is going to be about where you're residing and how much stuff do you really need. I mean, I had a closet full. It was so crowded in a master bedroom closet. I mean, it was well organized, but I filled the entire thing, which that was a closet that was meant for two people. And I had so many shoes and just so many dresses and suits and this and that. And so I'm happy to report that I don't have to wear any of those things anymore. I feel like, my uniform is yoga pants and an occasional pair of jeans. And I don't know, I sometimes get dressed a little bit more better, a little nicer when I go to church or something. But for me, I just don't feel the need to have a lot of stuff anymore. So I did reframe and I didn't want to feel like it was going to be a loss in my life, not intentionally having all of these items. But I sold so many things, and you might ask and you might consider doing it in advance, especially if your kids are up and out and all of their stuff is still left at your house. That's not the case at my house. It certainly is at my ex-husband's house, where a lot of stuff, including stuff that was mine, ski stuff and all these other things, I was like, yay, you can keep it. So, but yeah, I think that, you know, you're not getting rid of things, you're choosing what needs to come with you. And that's the mindset that I started to develop is like, I don't need parkas right now. There were certain things that I thought to myself, I don't need all this. I didn't need the winter boots. I didn't need certain things. And for me, because I really downsized, space is very valuable in my current setting. And I wanted someplace to be cozy. I knew that this was going to be an adjustment period, and it certainly has been. It really, really has been. And it was not easy. I would say the first few months was very challenging for me. I felt almost like I was depressed for a number of reasons. It was really like the security of leaving an area that I had become very attached to. Plus, one of my kids stayed in the area in Maryland, and so it really did. It really I just, yeah, I had to look at it differently. I had to look at it from a financial standpoint too for what I needed to do, which was to help one kid get through a very expensive university. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I understand, understanding that my new space and my new lifestyle is going to be different, and it's going to afford me different things like traveling, different ways of enjoying my life, and so I really didn't want to look at it as if it were going to be a hardship for me to downsize, because it hasn't been. It's like anything. You really start to, you grow into the space that you're in. You grow into the life that you're building. And that's really what I'm doing right now is after 2.5 months of being here, I really feel like I am now really looking for and intentionally looking for things to do, joining a book club, joined a gym months ago, and bought a bicycle that I can travel great distances on. And so I'm doing things that are going to help me to start to really get to know the area that I'm living at, right? And what I'm finding is that I have no shortage of belongings. In fact, if you look at my kitchen, I'm like, I brought as many things as I could, but I don't really use the air fryer. I don't really need the blender. There's so many things that I used before that I don't really need right now. So you might look at some of these things and think, is there someone else that can use that? I donated so many things. I donated everything from a sewing machine to a food processor that made bread and could do all different kinds of things. And if you go to any church, my church was so happy to have it because they were talking about making costumes and doing some things for the kids. And I was like, this is here, it's yours. But I did have, in a way, I had some emotional overload because there was a lot of clothes that I was giving up, stuff that I remember wearing and thinking that I really liked. But I'm also not in that world anymore. So I did go through a lot of books and kitchen items, decor and knickknacks and stuff that I did not have the physical space to maintain and keep anymore. So, yeah. So that to me is, it's kind of forcing me to have like a more cozy space than I had actually intended. But I also wanted to look through and figure out, and I'm going to do this again because when I look through these closets and see how many clothes and how many pairs of shoes, and the thing is, I wear sneakers and sandals and flip-flops most days. So for me, all of the really high heels that I have from years ago and probably half of the shoes in there I will never wear again. So I'm going to look and I'm going to say, hey, if I haven't worn you in 12, like 1 to 2 years, do I really need it? Is it realistic for me to keep that? And is there somebody else that can use it? I did find a really great place to make donations. It's a 501c3, and they help support women returning to workplace and or underserved women who have babies and young children, and they need some extra support. So they do look for clothing. So you gotta think of it as a paying it forward type of attitude too. I was really happy to think, I had some very nice clothes, and I thought, I hope somebody has as much luck in this outfit that I did, because I always felt when I looked great when I was working that it just exuded, not only confidence, but just it made me happy. So if those clothes can make somebody else happy, then so be it. Retired life, certain clothing specifics are that there's less variety, really. It's more about comfort and what like active wear, because that's what I'm really focused on, is walking way more and getting out in the sun more. So that's kind of what I've been doing, is using my outfits as something that's really functional, and letting go of the work specific wardrobes and the someday clothes and the duplicates. It only makes sense to do that. And if I were packing for a month-long trip, I would think, is this something that I would actually use? And yeah, and if I look at all the bathing suits and all of these things that I've acquired over the years, I'm like, maybe I'll wear 3 or 4. I don't know that I need 15 like I have. I just have a lot of duplicates of things. If I liked something, I would buy it. If I didn't, But anyway, some of the strategies that you can use is the keep, the donate, the sell, or you're unsure. So as you're thinking about things and as you're looking around at your home and saying, one thing I will say is, now I know why people stay in their home for 60, 70 years, because when you pack every single closet, every single shelf, every single room, the basement, the garage, the attic, it is overwhelming. It is absolutely overwhelming for even somebody who's highly educated and has good organizational skills. By the time you've lived in that home for 60 or 70 years, that puts you in the 80 to 90 year age range. And nobody has the physical capacity to pack up a home or have an estate sale, or, so the time to do it if you are in my age range of 60s, early 60s, then the best thing for you to do is start doing it now. Because otherwise, you're going to either leave it up to the kids, and the kids aren't going to keep stuff that might have meaning to you. So you're going to want to pick and choose and say to the kids, look, these are 3 or 4 items that I want to give you guys first dibs on. And let the kids come and pick stuff out. If somebody wants your hutch cabinet, if somebody wants the formal dining room set, if somebody wants your formal china, and they're going to use it, because think about it, when was the last time you actually used your formal china? I know I had 2 sets of it, and I used it usually once a year, and it wasn't even mine, it was my mother's, and I did cherish it, but I did end up giving it to my niece, so I'm happy that got to happen. Hopefully by the time she starts creating her own home after she graduates college, she'll be able to use that, because it would be great to know that. Donate items that can help someone else. I know I just touched on this, but it did bring me a lot of kind of joy. There was some things that I liked. I was like, somebody's got to want this beautiful leather coat, or somebody's got to want this. So I had my daughter's friends come over, and anytime any of them did, I'm like, hey, would you like a pair of platform shoes, or would any of these purses interest you, or how about any of these coats, jackets, any outerwear? So there's times that you can just decide, do you want, is there anybody that wants to come over and look at your stuff? My aunt sent me 2 huge bags of clothing that she didn't want, and I was so surprised, but I loved every single thing she sent me. She has good taste, and she also I loved the stuff that she had. Some of it was very, very different, but I really did like the things that she sent. And I was like, I never would have gone out and bought all these things for myself. So anyway, the positives and the downsides of retirement and downsizing are emotional and mental positives are that there's less stress when there's less clutter. And if you look through some of the videos that I did prior to restarting, you'll notice that my living room set was gone. The antique furniture that I was able to not give, but I actually sold. I sold a lot of my grandparents' stuff. I had no more room for it. I was able to keep a couple of tables of theirs, which are still in lovely condition, and they're probably 70 years old, 60 to 70 years old. But I had to part with a lot of fear, and I felt that. I felt this, like I was dishonoring my grandparents by not taking certain things, but I also knew that there was going to be somebody out there that really wanted a colonial desk, or really wanted these Hitchcock chairs. So there were some things that I really had to get rid of, and I held on to things for as long as I possibly could, including some Stifel lamps. But downsizing would not allow me to bring all these things. So, anyway, I left the feeling of not honoring them to the wayside, because they knew that I loved them. And if I could have taken those stuff with me, I certainly would have, but I couldn't. So, and also, some of the other things is it made my daily routine much easier. The only thing I have to worry about is, where am I going today? What am I going to do? What fun am I going to have today? I don't have the stuff around me that was really time consuming. Plus, I had so much space that I had to clean. I mean, I did have somebody come in that would help me once a month, but for the most part, I was cleaning not only a 6-bedroom house at one time, but then a 4-bedroom house. So it's so much easier when you do go down to a smaller place to live. I won't say that I certainly wish that I had a much larger kitchen, and I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to be in the next couple years. I could very well pull that whole thing together where I get, the house of my dreams, and wouldn't that be great for me? Yes, it would. But right now I've lowered my housing and my utility costs. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. There's less maintenance and repairs because I'm not doing it. The landlord's doing it. And opportunities to redirect my resources for travel, for hobbies, for pretty much my kids. I still, take them on trips and take them places, or just holidays, buying gifts, and if somebody needs something, which reminds me, I got to send somebody a coat. So yeah, I mean, there's always going to be an endless way that your money can be spent, but certainly knowing that I don't have the overhead that I had, oh my gosh, do I not It's less than half of that. So it's kind of great. Easier to clean and maintain a smaller space, more freedom and flexibility. And something that's kind of matching right now the current stage of my life. And so that's where I'm at. Um, and I guess some of the things that I went through that I felt were a bit challenging, and that if I were honest with, I did have some emotional attachment to some of those things. And so I did take a lot of baby pictures. I did take a lot of things that, well, just anything that was of my parents. Of course, I've retained and kept. But the grief of letting go, and just allowing that to not be feel like you're doing something wrong, because the thing is that what am I going to do with everything? I'm not going to keep stuff just so that I can pay to put it into storage. It just wouldn't make any sense, and it would really cause me an undue stress, and I just don't need that. Honestly, I'm trying to reduce as much stress in my life as I possibly can, and I will tell you, oh, it has been. I don't feel like I had slept for like 15 years. Really started sleeping for a long time, and now I am, which is really great. I've needed to heal my body and my mind for a long time from the stressors of working and living and having the demands of that job, and then also, the oversight of family members and little children, growing and whatnot. So it's different. It's different when you normally give every ounce of everything that you do to other people, to your job, to your family, and the functionality of all of that. And then you're the last person on that list. And that was always me. I was always the very last person. So focusing on giving myself the compassion that I need to come into this new phase of my life. And I am looking forward to it. I feel like, it's hard to start over. And I'm not going to lie. Um, there has been some times when I'm like, is this regret that I'm feeling, or is it just fear that I'm in a new place? Fear that I don't know anybody, fear that I am, I do have family, but everybody's still working. I'm the only one that's free as a bird right now. So to me, I've done this before. I've done it many, many times. I've moved around the country, especially when I was single. And so I look at this to me, as I'm going to create this next quarter of my life, or if it turns into a half, I don't think it will unless I live to be, 120 something. However, I know that you're going to probably be faced with, what does my downsizing look like? And knowing that I've gone here before you, and if you are seeing anything in here that is resonating with you, or if you have questions, how did I do this? How did I decide to where I chose to live? Well, that's going to be your personal preference. Do you like a warmer climate? Do you want to live in the mountains, or do you like the beach? I mean, that's really what drove me is, well, the connection to paying in-state tuition, for one, and also knowing that the cost of living is a little bit less. I'm not going to say that things are cheaper. The only thing that I have noticed is that gasoline has gone down, which is good. But I wish you all the best. I know this is, it's a big time of life for a lot of people. And if you are caring for a loved one and you are managing their home and their properties, the best advice I can give you is, there's people out there that do this for a living. So if all you've got to do is look up either organizers or people that help, downsize experts. There's a lot of them in and around the Maryland, Virginia, DC market, but they're all over the country. I mean, there's people that run businesses that help people downsize, get organized. So they are prepared for that next phase. You really certainly don't want to be able to try to do that. Like, say you put your house on the market and it sells within less than 30 days. How are you going to get out of there in 30 days? You're going to have to pay somebody anyway. You might as well do it over time and have that stress lessened on you. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I'm living this right along with you guys. So I am hoping that you glean anything out of here that can be helpful for you. And please feel free to like and comment if you want to share this with somebody. If you want to leave me a comment, tell me where you're from. I'm really hoping to get back into this, because I did put it on the back burner because I had to move. And I'm telling you, it took months. It took me 4 months to sell the things I needed to sell. And even then, I had so much stuff to donate. And I'm glad I did, but I wish I'd started sooner. I think if I had, yeah, whatever. It's in the past now. We're not going to burden ourselves with the stress of that. So, again, I wish you all the best, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care.